if you remember. How would you describe a naming part? Jay. The naming part tells what? What does it tell us? That's so pretty. What does it tell us, Jay? No. Let me see who remembers. It's been a long time since we've done this. Do you remember? What does the naming part tell?
Like they name like James.
Who or what? The naming part tells who or what we're talking about. Who or what? Okay, who can remind us what the telling part tells us? Madison? No, we haven't got to that yet. What is it called? What they did or are doing. Good. Okay? It's the action. That's an easy way to remember it. It tells us what action happened. Okay? Alright, so the last time we did this, you guys did pretty well with it. I gave you some sentence parts. You had to work together to try to make them become complete sentences. We're going to do the same thing today. Now, the last time we did it, you had to make 7 complete sentences together. And that's been a while, okay? Today, we're only going to have to make, I think I put 3 in here. It might have been 4. Because I want you to do more of them by yourself. What? By yourself. But we're going to practice first doing some together. So I'm going to pass these out. I want you to talk as a team. I do not want one person to dominate. That means I don't want one person to just take over and be bossy. I want you to discuss it with each other and say, hey, let's try this. How do you think that looks? And then read it together and then say, is that coherent? What does coherent mean?
Correct. I mean, like, makes sense.
It makes sense. It goes together. Once you determine together if it's coherent, then you can move on to the next one and make as many coherent, complete sentences as you can. If it doesn't have a naming part and a telling part, it's not a complete sentence. If you put 2 naming parts together, it's not going to make sense. It will not be coherent. If you put 2 telling parts together, it's not going to make sense. Okay? Yes, sir.
Do you have to make at least 4 sentences?
I think I put 4 in here, either 3 or 4. We're about to find out. All right, so I'm going to put these at your table, and I want you to work together, and I want you to display them at your table so that when you're done, you can raise your hand and I can come around and check them.
You're over there. Somebody else. My blood looks for instance. I think everybody. Let me say. No, we have to be like a pink and a green.
You figured that out. Did you know what he said? He noticed that the naming parts and telling parts are color coded. So he said we're going to have a green and a pink for each sentence.
The police officer to rap music. The little girl.
So, what are you guys coming up with?
Okay, so we got that little girl reads a poem. I put to listen to rap music. The bus spins in circles and music jumps. Today, police officer drives a car.
Okay.
The police officer. My brother reads a rainbow. What about this?
else with that?
The police officer asked the black
Huh? Let's see what you guys got.
The police officer. The little girl lives in surround music.
Okay.
The bus spins in circles. My brother drives the car. Drives the car. The bus. That little girl spins. No, listens to rap music. That little girl.
Okay, friends, hands on your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sit down on your gluteus maximus. Point your nose. Point your ear. Point your cheeks. Point your chin. Point your eyes. Give yourself a hug. Put your hands down. All right, raise your hand if you can tell us one complete sentence. Now, does every single group have to have the exact same sentence? No. The only thing that you have to do is make sure your sentence is complete with a naming part and a telling part, and that it's coherent and it has to make sense. If that's the case, then you're good, even if it's not exactly the same as the other group. All right, somebody tell me one sentence. London, give me a sentence, nice and loud.
That little girl drives a car.
That little girl drives a car. Okay? In that sentence, look up here, friends. Look up here. In that sentence, London, what would be the naming part? That little girl. That little girl. Okay? In that sentence, London, what would be the telling part?
Drives a car.
Drives a car. Somebody raise your hand and tell me another sentence. Madison, nice and loud.
That little girl listens to rap.
That little girl listens to rap music. In that sentence, what is the naming part?
That little girl.
That
Again.
little girl listens to rap music. Okay, is that coherent? Does it make sense? Is it complete? Yeah. Okay, tell me another one, Rico.
The police officer read a poem.
Read a poem. What's the naming part? What's the naming part, Rico? The police officer. And what's the telling part?
Read a poem.
Read a poem. Okay? Somebody give me a different sentence. Ethan, nice and loud.
My brother read a poem.
My brother read a poem. Okay, what is the naming part? My brother. What's the telling part?
Read a poem.
Read a poem. I love the way everybody at this table is on task, paying attention. Thank you. Are you on your gluteus maximus? Because you need to be. Thank you. All right, Jamiria, tell me another one. My brother drives a car. What is the naming part? My brother. And then what's the telling part?
Drives a car.
Drives
A car.
a car. Who has a different sentence? Aiden. My brother listens to rap music. What's the naming part?
My brother.
What's the telling part?
Listen to rap music.
Yes. Listens to rap music. Okay, we'll take one more sentence, even though I know there are a whole bunch more. But let's just do one more. Maritza.
My brother stands in circles.
Okay, what is the naming part?
My
My brother. And what's the telling part?
stands in circles.
Spins in circles. All right, now look up here, girls and boys. I'm waiting for all eyes up here. Good job. Good job. Thank you. All right, so what we have now are some complete sentences. Let's quickly read them. me really quickly. That little girl drives a car. That little girl listens to rap music. The police officer read a poem. My brother read a poem. My brother drives a car. My brother listens to rap music. My brother, I made a mistake. My brother spins in circles. All right. Who remembers what I told you when we did this before? I said if you have a simple naming part and a simple telling part, it's a complete sentence. But is it sophisticated?
No.
It's not very elaborate, is it?
It needs more.
It needs more. It needs more detail. And who remembers how we can take these sentences, these good sentences, from being good to great? Do you remember, Jade? Tell us.
We have to have a win.
We have to have a win. That's one thing.
What's this?
What else do we have to have? Because we're going to add 3 things over here. Let's see who all remembers. Let's see if you. It's been a while. We did this before winter break, so it's been a while.
I remember.
You do remember? Okay, let's see. Okay, so Jade says we got to tell when. What else do we have to tell, Chess?
What?
We already told what in our naming part. Jamiria? How. That was the next one. So next we tell how. Then we tell what comes between how and when. Who remembers?
Where?
What is it, class? Where. So how, where, and when. Let's do the first one together, and then you are going to turn all of these good sentences into great sentences by yourself. So, who remembers what we do at the end of all these how words? Remember those special kind of words we talked about? Does anybody remember? You remember? What? L-Y. Yeah, remember we talked about those describing words, those adverbs? Okay, so who can think of a word that could go right here that has an L-Y at the end? I can take that period off now because I'm going to extend the sentences. So I'm going to take this from being, that little girl drives a car. How? Somebody raise their hand and tell me how she drives the car. Layla? Okay, she can say fast, or if we wanted to put the L-Y, we said just to start off, we're going to put the lead. This is, what's that word?
Quickly.
Quickly. The little girl drives a car quickly. Where does she drive the car? Where? In a parking lot. In a parking lot. And then when does she drive the car? When? When? I'm looking for a hand I haven't seen. I like to see a hand I haven't seen. Rico? Okay. So a couple of days ago. Now remember when we talked about tense? This is drives. So if you're saying drives, can it be in the past?
No.
If I say she drove, the little girl drove a car in a parking lot yesterday. I could do that. Do you want to change this to drove so that it'll make sense and be coherent? All right. The little girl drove a car quickly in a parking lot yesterday. Now, I'm just curious, which one of those sentences sounds more sophisticated to you? The little girl drove a car, or the little girl drove a car quickly in a parking lot yesterday? The second one. Right. Okay, let's do one more together, and then you're going to do some by yourself. So right now we've got, I think I want to do the police officer. This is going to be a tricky one because of what y'all chose to make the naming part. The police officer read a poem. Who can tell me how he read the poem? Think about it. Remember what we do when I want you to really come up with something good and not just something quickly. I want you to quiet, think, close your eyes. Think of a good word to describe how a poem might be read. When you think you have one, raise your hand. Artavius. Nicely. Okay, what were you going to say? Oh, we're looking for just the how word. Remember, we don't want to get too confused. So we're starting off just with the how words. Ethan?
Roughly.
Roughly? What would you say?
Nicely.
Okay, somebody already said that. What would you say?
Weirdly.
What is it?
Weirdly.
Weirdly? Uh-huh.
Nicely.